Wells Fargo presents one of the surest ways to grow your money. A Wells Fargo CD account, where you can earn a 5.00% annual percentage yield on an 11-month term with a minimum opening deposit of $5,000. Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/CD rates to open a CD account and start growing your savings with us.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning.
Welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, with the spotlight on section hikers.
And I'll spread the word, and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come. And we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, your premier podcast with the spotlight on section hikers, and I'm your host, Julie Jester Gayheart. As we move along with the series of episodes titled Jester's Class of 2022 Section Hikers, we are already up to episode number 7. If you haven't had a chance to listen to any of the previous episodes in this series, I have created a playlist just for Jester's Class of 2022 section hikers that can be found in the show notes of each episode going forward. This will allow you to get caught up on who to follow and support out on their section hikes this year. Our section hiker this week goes by the trail name Babycakes, which she earned while she was out hiking in West Virginia on the Allegheny Trail. You'll hear the story behind how my guest, Laura Finch, got her trail name Babycakes here soon, but first, here's a little more about Laura from her bio. Laura grew up walking in the woods, but didn't really call it hiking until she bought her first pack after moving to Lewisburg, West Virginia in 2012. In 2016, she moved 30 miles north to Pocahontas County. In 2019, Laura attempted to thru hike the 300-mile Allegheny Trail through eastern West Virginia, and instead spent the next 2 years section hiking and volunteering with the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association, the stewards of the Allegheny Trail. She's here today to talk about her section hikes, past and future, the Allegheny Trail, what you can do to help with the trail you love, and preventing burnout and recreation volunteerism. Thanks for coming back for another episode, and now on to my conversation with Laura Finch. All right, you guys, welcome back to the podcast, and man, oh man, are you guys in for a treat today. Not only am I introducing to you another section hiker to the show, but Laura Finch is the current West Virginia Scenic Trails Association Board President. Welcome to the podcast, Laura.
Thank you, Jester, for having me.
That was a mouthful. I'm glad I got that out right. It sounded good, didn't it?
It sure did.
So listen, Laura, not only we're going to talk about your section hiking, we're going to talk about you getting out on the Allegheny Trail, we're going to talk about you. I'm curious about what it's like to manage a board for a trail association. So you're connected to the trail by section hiking, you're connected to the trail by volunteering for the board, and we're also going to talk about, which I read to the listeners in your bio, preventing burnout and recreation volunteerism. And I'm really interested about that because I have been promoting people to volunteer, join the organization for the trails that they love so much. But before we get into that, you have got this trail name and it's Babycakes. So Laura, let's start off by telling everybody how you became Babycakes.
Well, I think Babycakes is just kind of one of those West Virginia expressions for, oh dear, or bless your heart. Babycakes, it's not like you think it is. So one of my buddies on the trail had said, "Oh, Babycakes," and I thought that would be a great trail name. So here I am.
Okay, so was something going on the trail? Was it like, oh dear, there she is, something's going down? So is there a story behind that? Were you doing something? Were you struggling, or what was happening?
I just remember that, well, we had planned a work outing in Cass, West Virginia, which is a beautiful scenic location along the Allegheny Trail. And it was all lit up for Christmas. And we were walking around just enjoying December in Cass, West Virginia. And we were talking about something or other, and my friend Kelly just said, "Oh, Babycakes. It's not just how you see it." So
I love that.
I just jumped up and down and said, "Could that be my trail name?"
Yes. I'm putting a big check mark on that. So I don't know. Should I just start calling you Babycakes the rest of the interview?
Anytime.
I don't know. Maybe when we start talking about your role with the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association, we'll go back to Laura. So
you can shorten it to Baby too. So don't put Baby in a corner.
There you go. Do not put Baby in a corner. So speaking of that, let's go back to, because also I go back to your bio. You said you didn't really consider yourself a hiker, or you never called yourself hiking until you decided that you wanted to actually through hike the Allegheny Trail. But some things happened along the way, and you're still finishing the trail as a section hiker. So take it back to the beginning of how in the world did you start, wanting to hike the trail, and, what went down that first attempt?
Well, I had moved to Lewisburg, which is the coolest small town in America, 2011. I had moved to Lewisburg, West Virginia in 2012 for a job, and I saw on the interstate advertised the Allegheny Trail. And I didn't know what it was, and I did a little bit of research, and I kind of backburnered it, and I was busy at work and had been working for the government. Well, I went out on my own as a lawyer, and have now been self-employed for 6 years, moved up to Pocahontas County, which is in the Monongahela National Forest. And I had, bought a pack back in 2012 and taken myself on some kind of long day hikes and been training for overnights, but I just never really had the guts to spend the night out in the woods alone. So I guess I just decided that instead of eating the elephant one bite at a time, I'd just swallow the whole thing. And I decided I would through hike the Allegheny Trail. And at the time, mostly we advertise, or now it's we, but the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association was advertising to take a shuttle around the gap. So I had planned on doing that. I started it at the Pennsylvania border, and 18 days later found myself in Durban, West Virginia, where I ended my hike that year. And I had only made it about 165 miles, something like that. So that was my first
That's a long way.
Section hike. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was out.
I mean, that's still, yes.
Yeah. I expected that it would take me about 3 weeks to finish the trail, but I was kind of calculating based on what I would call cranberry wilderness miles. I was accustomed to hiking, day hiking in cranberry wilderness, again, in the Monongahela National Forest. And the miles were just a lot easier on the dirt than they were on the pavement. And the first 100 miles of the Allegheny Trail up north is really road walking. It's nice road walking, but it's road walking. And so it didn't quite make the miles that I'd hoped. And I was really happy to end my hike when I did. But then I went back the next year and basically finished up. I've still yet to hike the road walk, which we now consider to be part of the trail, whereas, the gap was more or less being advertised to shuttle previously. But yeah, so I did 2 long section hikes, finished most of the trail, and did a couple weekends. So now I've just yet to walk the road walk, which is about 30 miles between White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, and where the trail picks back up to meet the Appalachian Trail. Which is right near Parisburg, Virginia.
And for those that have been out on the Appalachian Trail, know the exact intersection. I mean, I can visualize it in my mind, and everybody stands there and sees that sign. And it's like, oh, well, where does this trail go? So with those yellow blazes, because you can sit there. I think it's actually a good place to sit and kind of take a break before you go down Peters Mountain. I remember sitting there 2 or 3 times wondering, wow, I wonder if this trail's maintained. I wonder where it leads. I wonder where it goes. And speaking of that, explain to us again how long the Allegheny Trail is. And so is the southern terminus right there in Perrysburg?
Yeah, thank you. The southern terminus is there at the AT, and then the northern terminus is at basically the Mason-Dixon line, which for our purposes is the Pennsylvania border. And so the Allegheny Trail is really best hiked north to south. However, it's absolutely possible for an Appalachian Trail hiker to take the Allegheny Trail instead of hiking through Virginia. And what we're working on right now is kind of some informational materials that would tell people how they can hike through the Ohio-Pyle area to meet the Allegheny Gap Trail and then get back on the AT. So, we call the Allegheny. Yeah, we call the Allegheny Trail the ALT for short. Of course, it's not the AT, it's the ALT. And what's interesting is, of course, ALT stands for alternate. And we'd kind of like to position ourselves to be the alternate to the AT through Virginia. The mountains of West Virginia have a lot to offer and maybe a lot more variety to offer than, a green tunnel.
And you know what? I'm just thinking, I love that alternate ALT. And I mean, the AT does need some alternates. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with people getting out on other trails. So including the road walks, how long is the official Allegheny Trail now?
It's 311 miles.
That is a good distance.
But it's a great training distance. So, we're kind of in a different position than a lot of trails. We're not trying to manage, an overburdened resource. We're actually trying to get people to come hike the Allegheny Trail because in the past, it hasn't been that well maintained. And I think that there was, a little bit of a reputation that you'd only hike the Allegheny Trail if you wanted to be weeding through brambles for miles and miles. But that's certainly not the case anymore. Since I started hiking the trail, the conditions on the ground are exponentially improved. When people come at us with that kind of misconception that the Allegheny Trail is not very well maintained, I get a little huffy.
And rightly so.
But, I can't blame them because, that was the reputation. I mean, your reputation is going to precede you. So, but we like to think that it's pretty well maintained now. And it has a lot to offer as an alternate, as a training hike, as a working man's through hike or a working woman's through hike. If you are well trained, I believe you absolutely can finish the Allegheny Trail in 3 weeks. And that's what a normal person, would get off maybe for vacation. Not everybody, but those fortunate enough to have 3 weeks and to be able to finish a trail in that time. There is something very meditative about long distance hiking, and that is different from day hiking, and that's different from just a weekend backpacking trip with your buddies. When you are out on the trail, long distance hiking, it doesn't matter whether you're walking on a gravel road. It doesn't matter whether you're walking on a pretty country paved road. The fact that you are walking for mile after mile for yourself, with yourself, that's what we get out of hiking, right? We get that mindset that we can clear our heads and create some space for ourselves. And, once my tenure as president of Boa Vista is through, I'm just really looking forward to getting back to my hiking career. And I had a hike planned this year, which is the reason why I was so excited to join you on the program. But my plans are a little waylaid. I'm just deciding now when I'm going to hike this year. But
that was going to be my next question.
I think it'd probably be September, before. Yeah. I like to hike in September. It's dry.
So this coming September. Okay.
Yeah. And I've actually, what I plan to hike this year is Section 3 of the Allegheny Trail. It's about 80 miles. Section 3 and then a little bit of Section 4. And it's just desolate. I didn't see a soul except on the river trail. The Greenbrier River Trail is a really popular rail trail that follows the Greenbrier River through this area of West Virginia. And the Allegheny Trail follows the Greenbrier River Trail for about 3 or 4 miles. And that's the only place I ever saw anybody besides vehicles. It's just so nice to feel safe in the woods as a woman on your own. And that's something that I really had to develop, that skill, but at the same time, I tell women who ask me, how could you possibly be out for 18 nights by yourself in the woods? I say, every night I go to sleep scared when I'm alone. But every morning that I wake up, I'm proud of myself. And just don't let that fear, there's rational fear. There's good fear that's going to keep you safe. But don't let the fear ruin what would otherwise be, one of the most fulfilling experiences of your life, which is long distance hiking. Just do what you got to do to feel like you're safe. And that's why I love your campaign for the 10 essentials. And I was so excited to get my food bag because that hiker safety is so important.
Yes.
And also just taking what makes you feel comfortable, but also, what everybody knows are the right things to take.
Right. And thank you for, getting that and being an advocate for the 10 essentials and being an advocate for, doing what it takes to get out there. And it's okay to be scared because you know what? I'm scared too when I first spend the night out again, by myself. I've said this before on the podcast. It takes me 5 days. And the only thing the 5th day brings is I'm so exhausted. I just pass out at the end of the day. I just get so tired.
Exactly.
But that fear is always, that fear is still there. And I don't know why. And it will probably still be there as I continue to go out and, backpack by myself. But the key to all that is what you said. It doesn't stop us. It doesn't stop us from going out and, achieving those goals that we want to achieve. And I know when we originally talked about you coming on, you had plans. You were going to be going out in May. I think it was early May, and you're going to be, maybe getting your section hike in then. But that's the beauty of section hiking. Stuff happens and, you just rearrange your plans and you keep it moving. Is the way I look at it.
That's right.
And I wasn't not going to have you on because I'm an advocate for the Allegheny Trail. Everybody will remember Justin Mullins was on the show about a year ago. And he is up there. I think he's on your board now.
Yes.
And speaking of, we have to talk about you being the president. How did that happen?
I think I was the last person to put my finger to my nose, That's how they say it. Like, I was the last person to say not it. No, I think they'd asked about 3 or 4 people before, so I was like the 5th choice.
Excellent.
No. I feel that I have some, administrative talents to bring. And that's what I sought to do, was to help to bring the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association kind of into this century. And I mean, obviously no disrespect at all by that, but the same folks had been running this association and trying to maintain the Allegheny Trail for 30 to 40 years. And because of that, there really needed to be some kind of revamping, rejuvenation of the systems that we use to help keep the trail clear. And we've done that, and we've tried a lot of things that haven't worked and tried some things that have worked. And I just think that, we underestimate how much work it is to get things done. So before you show up at that trail work day, a lot of people have done a lot of things to get you there. And so that's what I did as the president. And I'm looking forward to handing the reins over to Jeff Bard, who will do a great job, and kind of sitting back and as president emeritus, just rejoining my hiking career. Because just last year alone, we had 2,000 volunteer hours, probably the most in the Monongahela National Forest of any volunteer group. And managing all of that has been quite a lot. So I came to be the president because I felt that I could help to do some good, to bring bring on kind of the third generation, so to speak, of this organization, which is what we are. And we just want to see a long distance trail in West Virginia that can bring people here to enjoy, the majestic beauty that West Virginia has to offer, and bring, a different set of people maybe that, are serious backpackers. And obviously, whenever we're talking about building a trail, we are talking about the economic development that can bring to a community. So what communities are more in need of economic development than Appalachia, West Virginia? There's just really no place that needs it more, that needs tourism more, that needs backpackers to come and spend money more than Appalachia and West Virginia. Well, and all of West Virginia is considered Appalachia. So I know I kind of jump all over the place, but that's just how my mind works, I guess.
No, this is great. And it just goes to, the messages that I've been trying to get out there is individuals taking ownership of trails, where they live in their home state. Yes, we have these 11 wonderful national scenic trails, but we also have hundreds of other trails that need our love, that need our care, that need building, that need maintaining. And it's been fun for me to follow along with the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association and see where you guys have progressed. You have this, let's talk about the week that you have, the W5 of trail work that you guys have put together. Tell us about that.
So our biggest event each year is called Wood's Wacky Week of Work and Relaxation.
Excellent.
And that's dubbed W5. Doug Wood is a part of the second generation of trail volunteers with the Trail Association. And he kind of founded this event years ago. I think we're in our 26th year or something of holding a week of trail work in June. It's always near West Virginia Day, which is a holiday here, June the 20th. And that commemorates the day that West Virginia split from Virginia. It is a different state, for folks who might not be aware. And, sorry. And so we put together a whole bunch of people and do a whole bunch of work. And it's always a good time. We always try to have a nice time in addition to doing a lot of work. Now, as far as trail volunteer opportunities go, I would say that we are pretty hardcore. We don't kind of meet up in a parking lot at 10 o'clock and walk out and trim a few rhododendron and get home by 3. Like, we work 8-hour days. But that's because there's so much to do. And it's because, we always find a job for everybody that they're capable of, so maybe if somebody can't work a hard 8-hour day, we'll send them to touch up blazes on the road or whatever. I mean, we're really big on finding a task for everybody and a body for every task, and making sure that ahead of time we have enough work lined up to get people where they need to be feeling helpful. And I think that, that's probably one frustration that, and I've never heard that frustration voiced to us necessarily. It's been more of a worry or a concern for me, but I want everybody who comes out to volunteer to really feel like they did something that had an impact and was helpful, and be proud of the work that they do.
Yes.
And that's how you develop volunteers.
Well, that's because you're Mama Bear as well. Yeah,
that's true.
You're Mama Bear. You got to make sure everybody's good.
Yeah.
The one thing that I've seen, and this is just on social media and talking to Justin, is there is a huge sense of pride for everybody that works. And I also had an opportunity to be a guest at one of your board meetings, and just a huge sense of pride in the work that you guys are doing, and it shows. So I just wanted to let you know that it shows from somebody who, I'm down here in North Carolina, and Justin every chance is like, hey, when are you coming up to West Virginia? So the pride in what you guys are doing is showing for sure. And on that same note, I know you're ready to get back out to the trail. You think you're heading out in September, but you also mentioned in your bio, let me make sure I say this right, that you wanted to talk about preventing volunteer burnout. And I can see that happening with people. And I want to try to avoid that myself because I'm so gung ho with people volunteering, but you don't want to over volunteer. So talk about that.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm definitely a victim of it. I found my focus went from hiking and enjoying being outside, enjoying the trail, to being worried about getting the Allegheny Trail fixed up and worried about finishing the Allegheny Trail. We've got, a 20-mile gap that needs to be completed. And I think that the way that I've been able to find peace with my work and with, my volunteer projects is to realize that these things happen slowly. We can't change the world overnight. We can't, build a trail overnight. We can't fix a trail overnight. And I think that, it was the movie star Murray said that when you're relaxed, you're better at everything. And I think that when you feel a lot of pressure, whether you're volunteering or working or hiking and trying to make those miles, when you feel a lot of pressure from outside of yourself, you can't find that peace that helps you to be good at everything. So, it wasn't long that I had been president that I really felt already like I was starting to get burned out. And by last summer, I was a basket case. I was trying to manage 2,000 volunteer hours. And I don't know how many employees that would be if you had year-round employees that did that many hours. Probably not that many, but you just crunch all of this into a short period of time, try to get things done, try to make sure that everybody gets where they need to be, and sometimes you make mistakes. We had a terrible incident where somebody went to a gate, didn't have a code, to get in the gate. We're working on Forest Service and able to make access that people typically can't make. It's just an example of, you could have everything laid out perfectly and things are still going to happen when you're managing 22 volunteers for a week.
Yes.
I just felt like that experience was so exhausting. And, nobody should feel like their volunteer career is taken away from their life. Like, you should only do something for free if it adds to your life.
Yes. Perfect. You should only do something for free if it adds to your life. That needs to be like, on a sticker somewhere. You should... the thing is, it's just like the podcast. I have people ask me about the podcast, like, oh, how much money do you make on the podcast? And I'm like, I do this because I love to do it. I don't make anything. It's volunteer. It's my way, to have great conversations with hikers and, individuals, like yourself that are managing trail organization. And the big thing is to get the word out there. It sounds like to me that you have a big heart and there's a lot to do and you need more volunteers. And, if you're trying to do everything yourself, you will get burned out.
I'm so glad you said that. And I think that the ultimate, struggle that we have with the Allegheny Trail is the fact that for the last 80 years, everybody who raised their kids in West Virginia hoped that their kids left West Virginia. And so now we have no kids in West Virginia. So our population being in our whole state, just barely 1 million people, there aren't enough people to do everything that needs to get done. And so in a county like mine that has, 8,000 residents, you go to every festival, outdoors festival, arts festival, crafts event, performing arts function, and it's all the same people that are running the show.
Yeah.
And it's just easy to get burned out when there aren't enough bodies on the ground. But you just have to kind of pull back what it is that you're doing. You know, there were things that were wrong with the Allegheny Trail that we couldn't fix right away.
But you're trying and you're working on it.
Yeah. Well, and it's better to have a long-term plan than a short-term panic attack, you know.
Yeah. Listen, you've said a couple of quotes I need to put on some stickers. It's better to have a long-term plan than a short-term panic attack.
You know, everything is you just have to find some peace that everything is going to get done in the time that it's going to be done. And nothing is, you know, if nobody's going to the hospital, if nobody's going to jail, like there's no emergency. Let's just plod along, be at peace with things, not be mad at each other for no reason, you know. And that's just stuff that happens in any organization. And I think we're a pretty friendly, you know, we're a very tight-knit group. And of course that, you know, that combined with overwork probably leads to some heated conversations, but
passionate.
Yeah.
Those passionate conversations.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I want people to be involved, but I don't want people to be so involved that they lose themselves.
Exactly. So. There's a fine line. There is a balance. And that's why you are only doing a 2-year term. And that's why a lot of organizations, the term is 1 year to be the president because of that exact thing. So.
Yeah. I could have definitely done 1 year.
And you're getting ready to step away from that and get back on the trail in September, which is awesome.
I'm so excited. And I had actually been kind of conflicted about whether I'd like to do another hike at one of the sections of the Allegheny Trail, or maybe even go out and check out the North Country Trail in the Allegheny National Forest up in PA. I've been really interested in that. I mean, I just had a lot of, you know, combined with my paid job, with my volunteer work, and I'm really looking forward to getting back out on the trail and sorting my head out and regaining my hiking career. But also I'm looking to expand into funding wilderness stewardship. And we have no group in West Virginia that funds trail maintenance in wilderness. And so I'm kind of looking to extend some of the skills that I've learned in the Allegheny Trail to help care for some of the wilderness areas here in the Monongahela National Forest.
That is awesome.
I think that everybody should just do what makes them happy, you know?
Exactly. So, all right. So what I'm going to do is in the show notes, I'm going to put the website for the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association. People can go and get information there about the Allegheny Trail. And I know you actually have a couple Facebook pages, one for the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association, and the other one is, it's a group page, right? It is...
it's called Allegheny Trail.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There are a couple groups on there. One was older, right? Yeah. So if you'd like to learn more about the Allegheny Trail, you can visit wvscenictrails.org or check us out on Facebook as West Virginia Scenic Trails Association, or on our Facebook group, which is just called Allegheny Trail.
Excellent. And what do you want to leave us with? What are you excited most about? And I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to because it's fun. Getting off the board or going hiking?
I'll give you a third one that I'm excited about. We are going to have a stand at Damascus.
Oh,
and
wow.
I just cannot wait to see if I can convince 20 hikers to take the alternate.
Excellent. All right. Well, listen. So this episode is going to come out after Trail Days. And so what you're going to do is in the fall, in September, when you get done with your hike, you're going to have to come back on and tell us about that and let us know if 20 people took the alternate.
I sure hope they do. Thank you so much for having me, Jester. You're the best. I love listening to your show.
Thanks, Laura, for coming on the podcast and sharing about the Allegheny Trail, your section hike endeavors, and your time as the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association Board President. I love your passion and dedication to those yellow blazes you love so much, and you're definitely the mama bear of the Allegheny Trail in my eyes. Good luck out on the trail this coming September, and we look forward to hearing if your endeavors to get 20 hikers to take the alternate route panned out at Trail Days in Damascus. Be sure to go follow the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association and Allegheny Trail Facebook groups, which can be found in today's show notes, and check out their website for trail work days and more. Next week, you're going to hear from a section hiker who lives in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and enjoys the theme song of the podcast by the Okie Dokie Brothers. So much so, I'd like to share with you something that he wrote to me recently. Hey there, Jester. I really enjoy listening to your show. I love your theme song, Through the Woods, and after I heard it on your show, I downloaded it to my phone. I started on the Colorado Trail full of doubt last May, and as I finished segment 2 all alone in a nasty snowstorm, I played that song on my phone and sang along out loud. That was a cool moment for me, and I still get goosebumps when I hear that song introducing your podcast. Just a quick reminder to check out Laura's guest bio that will be directly linked to this episode on the Jester Section Hiker page, which can be found by going to hikingradionetwork.com. You can also help support in the production of this podcast and all of our shows produced by the Hiking Radio Network by leaving us a donation while you're there as well. You will see that donate button as you are looking at today's show notes and Laura's bio. Thanks for listening, be safe out there, and happy section hiking.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning light. I wonder if you'd wander with me, and I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. You're wondering if I go wandering with you, what kind of trouble we'll get ourselves into. Would it be wrong to tag along with a band of vagabonds? You wonder if I'd wander with you. So I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. I'm wondering if you'd come wandering my way, if you ever get lost or if the trail leads you astray. The music of the pack can always bring you back. I wonder, can we wander away? And I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. Round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets in these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Wells Fargo presents one of the surest ways to grow your money. A Wells Fargo CD account, where you can earn a 5.00% annual percentage yield on an 11-month term with a minimum opening deposit of $5,000. Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/CD rates to open a CD account and start growing your savings with us.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.